A preamble. In the last budget, the federal government promised $38 million for 3 years to fund the extension of the Hobart Airport runway. So my question was, will the funding agreement on the airport be concluded by the end of the year? And if you could tell us what the funding would be contingent on as well.
We are currently in the process of finalising the funding agreement. Mr Borthwick may be able to help with the exact expectations about timing. Okay. At this stage, I'm not sure that it'll be completed by the end of the financial year.
Okay.
Stephen Borthwick, General Manager, Aviation Industry Policy. As Mr Doherty mentioned, we're currently negotiating the details of the funding agreement. Our expectation is that we'll be able to finalise the funding agreement before the end of the year. We're just currently waiting, working with the airport for some detailed advice on project milestones which we can incorporate in the funding agreement.
So project milestones, that's provided by the partners in the airport, or is that the state government? Could you just be a bit more clear about who those, who's providing the project milestones?
The responsibility for the planning and design of the project rests with the airport, Senator. So we are awaiting advice from the airport.
Just as a matter of interest, my understanding is that the structure of the airport's 51% owned by Macquarie Bank and a series of other partners. The grant, who gets to, if $38 million is allocated to extend the runway, do the partners get to keep that or capitalise that value in their investment? Just as a matter of interest,
Senator, whatever the structure is behind, there is a single airport lessee company which has the responsibility for managing the airport and would be the responsible authority for this project. So our payment, our agreement would be with the lessee company rather than with individual partners or shareholders sitting behind it.
Okay, so the value of that additional, whether it's future revenue from access to the airport by international carriers or use in a future Antarctic hub, the valuation still will fall with the existing owners of the airport. Is that correct?
That's correct, Senator.
Okay, and
as will the liabilities associated with maintenance and utilisation costs.
Okay. So was the funding contingent on anything in particular? Apart from those milestones, you said you're waiting on those. Did you set those yourself, or have you sort of had parameters given to you by the state government or any other stakeholders?
In terms of the government's election commitment, I'll get Mr Borthwick to set those out for you. It relates to the airport's ability to effectively reach an understanding with a potential user of the runway. Right. That was one of the criteria.
Yes, Senator. Just to add to the Secretary's comments, the election commitment was worded around. It was contingent on the airport having a level of discussions with foreign airlines to attract them. In relation to the specific project milestones for construction, that would be consistent with the normal funding agreements the Commonwealth enters into with project proponents, that all payments are linked to the completion of project milestones.
And would that include a cost-benefit analysis for this type of project? If you could just... I know that's not always clear-cut, whether you need cost-benefit analysis for infrastructure projects.
Not in relation to this project, no, Senator.
Not in relation to this project. I think during our Southern Oceans inquiry, the state government said they were doing a business plan, their own business plan. The local council were doing a business plan for the airport. Are you familiar with any? Have you had any input or any discussions with them about their business plan?
No, Senator.
Oh, okay. In relation to those international carriers, I think it was reported in the media that Singapore Airlines, Virgin International, and Air New Zealand, who were airlines put up by the government as potential users of the runway, have said they've got no interest in the use of the runway. Are you aware of any potentially fruitful discussions with international carriers for the? I won't be long, Glenn. It's my last question.
Senator, we're aware that the airport has had a range of discussions with international airlines. The outcome of those discussions, we're not privy to the details at this stage.
Okay, so are you aware of any work going into attracting partners for the Antarctic end of the use of the runway?
We're aware that discussions are underway, but we're not privy to the outcome of those discussions yet.
But will they be included in the milestones that you'll need to see to release the funding? Basically, will someone have to come to you and say, these are the milestones, we've got an international carrier who's interested in using the runway, and we've got, for example, Chinese investment in a future Antarctic base in Hobart. Is that the type of milestones we're looking at? Or?
The milestones that we're looking at for the funding agreement are more construction related. They're related to the construction of the project.
I thought the Secretary just mentioned also that you needed a carrier.
They were, certainly the wording of the election was they, as Mr Borthwick indicated, that they were engaging in discussions with attracting foreign carriers, not necessarily a firm commitment.
I regret to inform you, Senator, that that's your last question.
That was my last question, Chair.